It is day 2 of the Democratic National Convention, and more big names will take the stage. More from the party. It'll take that virtual stage to make their case for why Joe Biden should be our next president.
Biden's wife, Dr. Jill Biden, is among tonight's speakers. We will also hear from former President Bill Clinton and Delaware Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester. And you'll see more familiar faces from our region tonight. NBC10's Mayk has been talking to some of them. Lauren, how many people from this area will we see this evening?
Jacqueline, I'm counting at least 5, but there could also be some surprises. And we're hearing from a lot of people this year in general with shorter speeches. Tonight's usually when we hear a featured keynote speech, sometimes from a rising star in the party. This year, the DNC chose not 1, but 17. One more thing making this convention different.
New Jersey, 50 votes.
That's how a presidential candidate is usually nominated. State delegates crowding around a microphone in a convention hall, but not this time.
What's it going to look like?
I'll be alone in Scranton.
Senator Bob Casey will present Pennsylvania's delegates from the city that's also where Joe Biden spent his early childhood. Today, delegates from across the country will make him their nominee for president in night 2 of a virtual convention during a campaign in which Biden has swapped rallies for online events and small gatherings.
How much of a challenge does that present in a state like Pennsylvania to not be able to move around and meet voters in person?
I think in some ways it would have been a much bigger challenge 30 years ago than it is today. Because of technology, voters can hear from him directly.
Tonight, look for local voices, including Lisa Blunt Rochester, the first African-American and first woman to represent Delaware in Congress, who was part of the process of choosing Biden's running mate. And 17 speakers will share the convention's keynote address, including Pennsylvania Congressman Brendan Boyle and Pennsylvania State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, who took on President Trump in our conversation today.
We have a president who is dangerously dumb, who doesn't know what he doesn't know, and completely diminishes or fires anyone around him that's an expert.
Kenyatta recorded his speech in North Philadelphia and says he is a reflection of the city.
Grew up in a working poor household to, a mom who was a home health care aide, a dad who's a social worker, both of whom pushed me to not just complain about what's going on, but to recognize my own power and getting out there and do something about it.
And we'll hear from him tonight. And now, just because we are seeing a show of unity in the convention behind Joe Biden, that does not mean that everyone completely agrees. Tonight, we're going to hear from progressive Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was tweeting today about one of last night's speakers, Republican John Kasich. He questioned whether she represents the Democratic Party. She came back on whether he gets to decide that. 2 very different perspectives, one convention. I'm Mayk, NBC10 News.